Along with a new governor and attorney general, Massachusetts has a new state treasurer. Many viewers know the treasurer is in charge of the state lottery. There's also responsibility for managing the state's debt, regulating alcoholic beverages, investing for pensions, and funding new schools. We'd like to welcome the new state treasurer, Deborah Goldberg. Thank you very much for being with us.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. We were just discussing how the last time we were together, it was probably 90 degrees out. And today is really quite different.
Yes, we were sweating then, I think. Talk about something that you've done, starting in the inside in the state treasury. You've restructured things a bit, and one of the things you've got a whole new office for is economic empowerment.
Well, you know, when I was running for office and I was sitting here with you last summer, I talked about so many things that were critically important to me and were appropriate for the state treasurer to be thinking about. Financial literacy, college affordability. These were issues that were already cited within the treasurer's office, but they were being done so. For example, financial literacy has been a trust fund and a grant program. College affordability was being dealt with strictly through the Commonwealth Covenant Fund. I had a greater vision, including me wanting to lead on establishing wage equality here in Massachusetts. So we created an Office of Economic Empowerment, one of the first of its kind really in the country, because we put a deputy treasurer. The treasurer's office has a total of 5 deputy treasurers. We have deputy treasurers that are in charge of debt and cash and MSBA and retirement. But this is the first time that a deputy treasurer has been elevated to deal with such important economic issues and economic empowerment. When I ran, I talked a lot about it being a personal mission of mine to establish economic stability and economic opportunity. Well, the way we do it best is empowering people to empower themselves. And we're doing that through this office. And I'm very excited already with the kind of work that we are doing.
Well, if wage equality were just about giving people with the same job titles the same amount of money, it would be very simple. But I guess It's not as simple as that.
It really isn't. Lots of good people believe in wage equality. And we hear men, women, government, private business, everyone wants to do the right thing. But there is a way in which we have to uncover what causes this to begin with. I mean, a perfect example is 2 highly qualified young people get out of college with the same grades, the same background, and somehow over time, the young man begins to creep up. And today we hear statistics. It's better. It was 77 cents on the dollar. It's now 82. But candidly, it's women like me who bring that up. African American women are still stuck at around 61, 62 cents, and Latino women, 50. But we can do something about it, and that's what I'm talking about. By leading on showing how it can be done, from day one when I stepped into the transition and I began looking at the opportunity for us to be hiring people, we made certain that across the board, that the type of hiring we were doing was equal. But now that we're there, our new HR director is tasked with looking at job classifications, job descriptions, how have they evolved, where are the consistencies, and how the salaries are attached to those kind of job descriptions. We will also be doing an internal audit. So we are showing others how you do it, including we're bringing in public-private working together and finding out best practices across the board, then leading on it and helping people understand how you can get it done.
Well, before you got elected treasurer, we made a decision in this state to have some casinos. They're going to cut away from the lottery revenue in all likelihood. So what's your response to that? What are you going to do about it?
Well, you know, we've heard a lot of statistics thrown around, but even on a conservative nature, even if it's 1%, no matter what it is, it impacts cities and towns because the lottery revenues are the only unrestricted local aid, period. And so there are several things that I've already begun doing. One of them is bringing innovation and technology. You might have read in the Globe a couple weeks ago that we announced that we are going out and bidding on brand new terminals. Those big old blue boxes that we've all seen for 18 years, well, candidly, they don't even make the parts to fix them anymore. We're actually using old machines and pulling out parts to fix old machines. But it's not just the fact that we're using old machines, but to become more competitive, you need real-time data. You need to be facile in how you can shift the way in which you create games. Or, I mean, I'll give you an example. If you had to change anything on a Keno game today, each game has to be changed manually. We shouldn't be able to do that. That doesn't give us nimbleness in being able to be responsive. And if you look at the kind of branding that the casinos do, and by the way, did I ever think I'd be running a quote-unquote gambling operation? No. But as a former chairman of the Board of Selectmen in Brookline, I do know how much I relied on that local aid. And in particular when, again, referring to the snow. We're having to pay for that through unrestricted local aid.
For a long time, the lottery has had this sort of regressive pattern where people who don't make a lot tend to play a lot. Is there any way you think you can at least tweak that a bit?
Well, the way, first of all, we are continuing to put funds, and even under the 9C cuts, we did not allow our health and welfare fund at the lottery to be cut whatsoever. So we are using funds to try to educate people. But the reality is that we have been examining, are there particular games that prey on people? We haven't found one in particular that you could say, this is a bad game. This is the game that draws people in and harms them. So that's kind of a challenge. But in addition to that, in looking at the distribution formula, I want to work with the legislature on how that's assessed so that at the very least, cities that put in a lot of money get money out, commensurate with the amount that they put in. And so those are things that we've begun talking about. To be candid, since I was sworn in on the 21st, whereas the governor and the lieutenant governor were early in the month, we've been dealing with so many issues around snow, just like the mayor of Boston has and everyone else, that being able to get some of these more bigger ideas going has been challenging in terms of being able to work because we're all just trying to keep regular business going.
Well, here in Boston, we're on the verge, if not already starting, a process for new school buildings across. This is supposed to be a comprehensive process. You have something to do with that. So what is that going to be exactly?
Well, I am chairman of the Mass School Building Authority, and that is one of the most exciting things that I get to do as treasurer. To me, the long-term economic stability of Massachusetts is through us creating a skilled workforce. And where does it start? In elementary school. And the kind of buildings that we will provide to the kids with the 21st century science labs and smart boards and technology. I met just this week with Commissioner of Education, Mitch Chester, and we talked about the implementation of technology and how this can help all kinds of learners. And so being able to create 21st century schools for our kids is a top priority for me. I've stepped in. My first board meeting is actually in March, but I began attending board meetings right in the transition. And I've been sitting down with every board member and talking about how are we using our resources? How are we, again, coming from the local level, consumer friendly? How are we working with school systems? And really looking at the way in which we implement. For the city of Boston, Mayor Marty Walsh and I have met already once. We've spoken on the phone several times, and we want to work together to make sure we have the right schools in the right places, providing opportunity for kids in the city of Boston.
Thank you very much for being with us, State Treasurer.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to coming back again.
State Treasurer Deborah Goldberg.
Good to see you.
Thank you. And in a moment, we'll look at the new state budget, but first, this message.